Hey, welcome back. This is part 2 of Coffee or Tea. If you missed it, part 1 we talked about, well, there's definitely a red wave on the horizon. It seems to actually be encompassing more than just the polls. A lot of kickback for social media, for things going on in schools. If you want to hear about that, check out part 1. For part 2, we're going to do a little bit of a dive into Mr. Bo Biden and some of the crazy things going on with him. I'm just going to hop right into it. Where are we at? We are at Breitbart. So,
yes.
Interestingly enough, when we last covered things that were happening, Ron DeSantis and Governor Abbott of Texas were talking about busing these illegal aliens that Joe Biden keeps welcoming in, busing them to D.C. and Delaware as a response for what the secret flights that the president was doing over the last couple months, where he would literally take illegal aliens, fly them to random cities in the middle of the night, and then just release them. He literally just flies them in at midnight, no permission, no nothing, and then just releases them out into the streets. Of course, it caught on. Project Veritas did an expose on it, and then seemingly it halted. However, apparently, according to a new report, Biden revamps the secret flights filled with border crossers into the U.S. He has revamped his administration's near-midnight flights filled with border crossers to American communities, a new report details. Footage obtained by the New York Post shows border crossers, many of whom are presumably unaccompanied alien children, being flown from El Paso International Airport in Texas to Winchester County Airport near White Plains, New York, at almost 9:30 p.m. this week. After unloading from the plane, the border crossers were put onto buses that headed for American communities in the Northeast in Connecticut. Let me just make that a little bigger. There we go. Upstate New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. I'm going to pause right here. I will say I'm at least thankful that just the little bit of details we got so far. Previously, he was flying them to like red states. That's why DeSantis and Abbott and especially, who was it? I can't think of the governor of Kentucky or Tennessee, but he was doing it there too, and they were like furious about it. Even Mitch McConnell said something, of all people. But now it at least looks like they're busing them to their homes. Like, oh, you can go to these.
Well, but here's the thing, though. Yeah. He can't come out and stop them from crossing the border, so he has to put them somewhere.
He just ended Title 42. He's basically encouraging them to.
Exactly, but he's on this slippery slope downward of, I started this policy, if I turn tail on it right now, I'm going to lose out even more than I already have in my polls.
You're giving him a lot of credit.
So he's trying to very quietly solve the problem that he created.
An Immigration and Customs Enforcement official who spoke anonymously to the Post said the secretive flights filled with border crossers. It's just, I love that they're calling them border crossers. I mean, I guess it's a step up from undocumented migrants, but they're illegal aliens. Anyways, to American communities have, quote, never stopped since Biden took office in January 2021. Again, that exposes another lie, because, of course, when he was caught before, he said that they had been halted. We're only as good as his word. In a separate instance, Republican gubernatorial candidate Rob Astorino posted footage of buses carrying border crossers taking off from the airport, headed for northeastern American communities. At what point are we going to say, like, I mean, obviously Bo Biden is incompetent, he's demented, he's old, it's okay. You know, we can look into the corruption of his past if we want to, but right now we just have a doddering old man. So at what point are we going to say, okay, who's running the show, and why is this happening? Why is it continuing to happen? At what point do we say, is it incompetence or is it malice? Like, I can't wrap my head around them saying, this report is saying that this has never stopped. It's been constantly going, literally flying illegal aliens from the border to states and releasing them into our communities. Aside from demographic changes, what purpose would that solve?
Yes, the thing is that it's not about demographic change. I really think that this is not him trying to sway specific areas. I think this is more of him going, okay, well, we let all these illegal aliens in. Now what do we do with them?
Well,
you obviously can't have them sitting at the border, because what happened when they were all under the bridge?
The drone footage got out, the media got it, and then suddenly it was a big deal.
So the best way is to disperse them. You have to send them to other areas.
No. You mean his best way, because the best way was Trump's Remain in Mexico policy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. This is like when you tell your kid to clean their room.
Yep.
and you go up there and you find stuff shoved underneath the dresser and
Exactly.
stuff shoved
You didn't
underneath the
fix the
bed,
problem,
and
you
then
just hid it.
there's things. Yes.
Yep.
Yep. You didn't go through and actually organize anything. You didn't create a system for yourself because it's a child, which essentially the leadership of the Democratic Party is a child.
Yeah.
He wants his policies
Mine.
because they sound good. There's no reason behind them. There's no logic behind them. When they are executed, they don't actually give the desired result.
Well, yes and no. I mean, since it's too controversial to have the census only cover citizens, these people going to these communities do actually increase representation because the census covers everybody. So if you cram illegals into certain areas, you will get more representatives from it. It's a long-term plan, but it's one that they've been milking for the last who knows how long, minimum 50 years.
See, but I don't think that that's actually I don't think that that's part of this plan.
Oh, this is a new plan involving
No,
illegals.
I don't think that he's busing them to areas to try to drive up the population. I think he's got an influx of a population, and he's got a problem as to understanding how to maintain it.
Just like during the State of the Union, where he started talking about funding the police and strengthening the
Yes.
border wall, he's at a point where he well, I'm not going to say he realizes, we're going to stick with his handlers, realize, oh crap, as we're about to get into it in the next article, even the Democrats are deserting us over this crap because public sentiment is 100% against us.
Well, and you can run on a platform of a utopia, but the problem with that is that you're being naive.
Let's just say you don't have a country at that point.
Yes, and the problem with naive people is that they trust everybody and then they get burned.
Ooh, very true.
And when you want this idea of open borders, utopia, everybody gets along, you're not accounting for the fact that, 20% of the population is psychopaths?
Is that what it is? 20%?
It's something like 20%. I have to look it up. But those particular people are not in it to be giving understanding and be in a utopia. They're in it to seize power.
True.
So he's at a position where he's going to lose power because he ran on this platform of utopia and he can't deliver.
No, it's a socialist utopia.
Yes.
And that's the big problem there. He essentially ran on socialism.
Yeah.
And now that he hasn't delivered on anything, I mean, even that youth vote that they paraded around, they were so proud of getting. Oh, we told you we were going to cancel all your student debt. Actually, we were just kidding. Those of us who have been around are like, you idiots. They've literally used that as their carrot on the stick for years.
Yes.
But of course, y'all don't pay attention. But hopping over to our next article from the Washington Examiner, Democrats desert Biden over looming border disaster. And of course, they're referencing, it says, over the past several weeks, 7 Senate Democrats have come out against the Biden administration's plan to terminate Title 42, a pandemic public health authority used to turn away the majority of illegal immigrants who come across the southern border. Biden announced earlier this month that Title 42 would be rescinded on May 23rd. In the 2 years that has been in effect, the United States has expelled 1.6 million people through that authority, though some were turned away more than once. But Homeland Security officials anticipate as many as 180,000 people a day. Wow,
Whoa,
that's too many zeros. 18,000. I said wow, and then I looked at it and went, that can't be right.
I was like, whoa.
Still, 18,000 people a day could be encountered trying to enter the U.S. in the 6 weeks after Title 42 ends. The possibility is both an optics nightmare for Democrats and a national security concern. You don't say.
Well, and that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Is that he can't not end Title 42 now. Because he's come out saying, but then when we watched, who was the woman who was speaking about it? And she said, just to make it very clear, if you are looking for a better life, that is not a reason to claim asylum.
Wasn't that? I mean,
She said, if you're trying to make more money in the United States versus your other country, that is not a valid reason for asylum.
Yeah.
So she's trying to signal to these people who are coming to the border.
Oh,
no, it wasn't Psaki. It
wasn't Kamala Harris either. I do know what you're talking about. It was someone in the administration.
Yes, it was
came
someone
out
in
and
the
said
administration, and I think she was standing in for Psaki.
I think it was Kamala Harris.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't? The border czar didn't say that?
No. The borders are that.
Interestingly enough,
Has she been to the border? Yeah, because she went when Trump went.
Yeah, exactly. It took Trump going to get her to go.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, it says Arizona communities bear the brunt of the federal government's failure at our border. So we're stepping in and protecting border communities by ensuring the administration works hand in hand with local leaders, law enforcement, and nonprofits to put a comprehensive, workable plan in place before lifting Title 42. This is Kristen Sinema, one of the names that's popped up a lot. Her and Joe Manchin as actually level-headed Democrats who are not letting them ram through these insane things. I got to tip my hat to her. Of course, it's only halfway to do it. It's only halfway around it. So it says, and I agree here with, this is, okay, Senators Raphael, it's like I grew up with that name. I should know it. Raphael Warnock of Georgia and Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada have also called out the Biden administration for taking action without enough planning. The move is significant for Cortez since she came out strongly against Title 42 when the former President Donald Trump imposed it 2 years ago.
Yes.
This is the wrong way to do this, and it will leave the administration unprepared for a surge at the border, she said in a statement. We should be working to fix our immigration system by investing in border security and treating immigrant families with dignity. Instead, the administration is acting without a detailed plan.
And that's the root of the problem right there, is that you cannot rescind an order that is... Okay, 42 is in place specifically for the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Now we want to move forward and say that we're out of the pandemic, that we're getting things under control, that we're restarting the economy.
While simultaneously extending the mask mandate on airplane travel for another 2 weeks. I'm putting that out there. Go on.
But if you're going to take away this policy, you have to either do something to account for the influx of immigrants that you're going to see with this being rescinded, or change a current policy for immigration to stop these immigrants from coming into the country. Now, he can't put in any of the fail-safes that Trump had.
No, of course not.
Because that would be admitting defeat when the first thing he did in office was to take all of those away.
Rescinded all of the Trump-era policies.
So what do you do with all of these people? You hide them.
You try to hide them badly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you cannot hide 18,000 people a day.
I mean, you can try, but however, they are seeing the repercussions of it. From just the news, we actually see Hispanic voters are deserting Biden, a major warning sign for Democrats. We're not going to go through this entire thing. I just really wanted to show. It says only 26% of Hispanic voters approve of Biden's job performance, compared to 54% who disapprove. Perhaps most striking, the poll found a staggering 41% of Hispanic voters, quote, strongly disapprove of Biden's handling of the presidency, while just 12% strongly approve. Hispanics represent the country's second largest voting bloc by ethnicity. The interesting thing about this is even Beto O'Rourke, an Irishman who has changed his name from Robert to Beto in order to appeal to Hispanic voters, has come out saying they need more border security, because if you look at that Texas map, those border counties have all turned red.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing in Florida. People who flee communist regimes, or people who flee and actually go about it the right way to get into the country, they don't want anything to do with this. They see it as not only a socialist agenda that can lead to the same things that they came from, but also these people are line cutters. That's all it comes down to. If you want to be part of our country, you go through the legal process. We welcome you with open arms. Go chase the American dream, but do it right.
Yes. And I think by potentially busing them into areas that are so strongly blue, they're hoping that they don't come out and vote.
Yeah. Well, they're hoping not only, I would say they're hoping they don't come out and vote, but they're hoping not only, like I said, it does affect
that they
the
get counted for the census, and they get counted for the representation. It does grant
representation, but I think you're talking about the other half. The people who are already there won't come out against it because, of course, diversity is our strength and immigration should never be held back by anything ever. I think that might backfire. I'm not going to lie. I hope it does. It hasn't yet. But at the same time, maybe when busloads of them start showing up, these communities that are solid blue might actually say, you know what, this probably wasn't a good idea.
And you know what? If it works the other, like if they are solid blue and we bust in immigrants and they're able to assimilate them into their culture and on a local level find a sustainable harmony, then we've done great.
We, though?
Yes, because that's what America is built on. The idea of is that you assimilate part of the culture who comes in.
But you have to be contributing too. You, as a national citizen, you have to be part of the system and paying the same taxes and all that.
Well, that's also this. So we're talking about the exact same thing.
Yeah.
If you bust these people in, and they don't do that, then they're not assimilating into the culture.
Well, that's just it. They already have bypassed, they've leapfrogged the first part of assimilating into the culture, which is becoming a citizen. If they were to have become a citizen, then more power to them, bus them wherever they want.
But more of them become citizens than I think you realize.
I think we should do a deep dive into that
think
one.
we should.
However, we're just talking about blue communities hopefully coming out against this as more and more illegal aliens show up. However, we do actually have a little microcosm of a very bizarre moment of a blue community coming out against Bo Biden. And I really hate to say this, but I have to, I'm going to play the clip before I say the words.
Well, here's the thing is when they start to see problems,
Yeah, well,
they're the community who are very vocal about, well, how dare you ruin my perfect life to help someone else out, but they want everybody else in the community to give.
Oh, you know what? I 100% agree with what you're saying. However, in this case, CNN, so it says, watch, CNN guest blasts Biden's weak leadership. Oh, yeah, for the first time ever, we're going to actually, we might find ourselves agreeing with CNN. However, the difference between what you're saying and what's happening here, as we covered last week, CNN Plus attempted to launch, and it was disastrous. It was the worst launch I've ever seen, yada, yada, yada. Layoffs are coming, whatever. Their pocketbooks now are getting hit. That is where the real power is. And this actually just shows it. They're not changing tune because of, in this case, they don't even care about polls. They don't care about anything because this is CNN we're talking about. However, they care about moolah. And then, you know what? Let's just hear what we got to say. So 57 seconds. We can do it, people. Let's do it.
But I think the bigger problem for Biden is, just as Jordan was saying, people correctly perceive that he's not in control of the situation. And I think ever since that Afghanistan last summer, people have had, voters overall, have not had a sense of leadership from the White House, have not had a sense that there's a president in control who is strong and consistent and knows what he's doing and can project, a consistent message from one day to the next, even when they agree with what he's doing, like broadly on Ukraine, where the public generally supports, the overall strategy of supporting the Ukrainians and rallying the international community while drawing the line at sending troops, that you still have, the president continually stepping on his own message, the White House continually having to correct things he said. And so I think that overall, it's harder for him, it's not any particular policy or particular decision that he's made so much as people just questioning whether there is strong leadership going.
Yeah, of course. It's not any particular thing. It's literally everything.
Yes.
No one can. I mean, Afghanistan really woke a lot of people up who weren't paying attention to this because, of course, a lot of these people, they go out, they cast their vote, and then they don't think about politics for another 4 years.
Yep.
And with how ferocious, 2020 was with regards to politics, a lot of these people were just ready to be disconnected. But something like that, 20 years in the making, and they botched it so just incredibly terribly, word got out. And suddenly, I think that point, if I brought up polling, I think we would start to see the decline right there.
Yes. Well, and I think it goes to show you that so many more people are waking up, and they've stopped putting their life on autopilot as far as the policies that the Fed is allowed to get away with.
Yep.
And even with like our last video when we talked about parents waking up to the way the school boards are being run and the way that the teachers are being told that they're allowed to teach. And coming back to this is just an overall thing where across the United States, he's botched so many little things. And that's why she says it's not just one thing.
Yep.
Because everybody has a different opinion on what he did wrong and where he went wrong. Because they all, like, people who are connected to with Afghanistan, our generation specifically.
Oh, yeah.
Because having graduated during the 9/11 and all of the other things that were going on, and they hit us personally. Yep. A lot of the people that we went to school with enlisted, went overseas. A few of them lost their lives. And then to see a war that, since we were essentially adolescents.
Essentially our Vietnam,
Yes, and now that we're adults with our own lives and kids and families and jobs and all that going on, and to see his withdrawal from something that we thought was stabilized.
He left $80 billion in equipment. He left
thousands
of citizens, thousands of people that were loyal to us. He did it in the dead of the night. He didn't tell our allies what they were doing. I mean, like I said, at what point Do we stop attributing to incompetence what is malicious?
Well, and I think a lot of that was incompetence, but
Hey,
it was
you're probably
incompetence for this because
Yeah.
we put him in a place of power because of the virtue signaling.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't put him in a place of power because anybody thought he was a particularly good option for the job.
Yeah, when you say we, you're not referring to either of us.
Well, no, neither of us.
Just making sure we specify that.
But when you bow down to the idea that someone can't be in power because they're mean.
Someone can't be in power because it's not even that they're mean, because just like you saw that clip earlier of, you had never seen, there was a clip of President Trump basically talking to a woman and essentially giving her a job.
No, and I get
on
that.
camera. The thing is, mean tweets existed, but the media painted such a terrible image of President Trump that no one got to see what was going on behind the scenes. So it's not even just...
Well, not no one. There were some of us.
Well, of course.
But
We can get into that later. But overall, the mean aura just stemmed entirely from tweeting.
yes. Well, and it comes from a position of strength.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the stuff that
course.
Trump would do.
Yeah.
Was specifically to get a rise out of someone and to put them on tilt, whereas Biden doesn't have that capability.
No, he's a
of
doddering
putting
old man.
anyone on tilt.
No one takes him seriously. No one's intimidated
And
by
even
him.
before he was a doddering old man,
Yeah.
he did not have the quick wit.
Nope.
He did not have the ability to put opposition on their backs.
Nope.
You know,
Well,
and
I mean, to be fair, he did get a Ukrainian prosecutor fired by withholding federal aid. The Ukrainian prosecutor was investigating his son in the board of Burisma. He was able to get that guy fired by telling him, you don't get the $1 billion, call the president if you don't believe me. That's the only time in the history of his entire thing that I've actually seen him, I hate to say it, actually show some cojones of like, this is
I'm
my way.
I'm
going to
get away with this.
Exactly. I'm going to get what I
well,
want.
that was because his back was against the wall.
True.
You know, he was directly threatened, and if he didn't do it that way,
Yep.
who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for the 40 years that he's been in D.C.,
I think we're at 50, aren't we? I think we're at 50. I think he's been in
Probably.
since he was 29, and I think he's 79 right now, or 78. So
Oh
he's
my
very
gosh.
close. Yeah, he's done nothing
But
except a
he-
terrible crime bill.
because he doesn't understand
Yeah.
how to handle opposition.
No, he
He
knows how
just
to
lets
filibuster.
people walk all
Yeah.
over him, and that's why people are walking across the southern border right now.
Yes.
And that's why people have allowed him, like, that's why he sat down and repealed a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Not necessarily because he believed it was the best policy, but because he believed it was the only way he could get supporters.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
that's coming from a position of weakness.
That was his promise. I'm gonna erase everything Orange Man did, even if it
Yeah.
screws over the entire country.
Yep.
I'm gonna stop this Keystone Pipeline. I'm gonna open our borders. This is how they will remember me. And you know, it's always about intergenerational theory. Weak men create hard times. However, we're gonna end this one on a bit of hope here because for
we got a
as weak,
strong man.
exactly, as for as weak of a leader as we have, ladies and gentlemen, we have a strong man as well. I'm not going to go to this article. I'm just going to refresh your memory. Elon Musk, of course, he bought in 9.2% of Twitter. He declined the position on the board because, of course, a position on the board meant he was capped off on how much he could buy. I believe it was,
Yes.
14, 15%. However, then he turned around and he made an offer. He said $43 billion offer. He was offering to buy the stocks at $54.20 a share, which prior to his offer, I think they were somewhere around $36 to $38. They have gone up to, I think, $40 to $43. But either way, it's a sweetheart deal for anyone who, wants to make money.
Yes.
This was last week he made this offer. And I mean, we can talk about the details of it, but the long story short here, here it is right here. He actually just sent them a text that said he's not playing the back and forth game. He's moving straight to the end. Here's the offer. Twitter then brought in some expert to try to say, well, that's too low. We need a higher offer. The expert said that the selling point on Twitter stock was $30 and Musk is offering him $54.20. So it became very obvious that something wasn't right, which leads us to this update from the Daily Wire. Elon Musk publicly slams Twitter board after poison pill was adopted. The Tesla founder slammed him. Blah, 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 blah. Musk's critical tweets were posted after the board adopted a poison pill in an effort to thwart the billionaire's hostile takeover of the company. Elon Musk is in for a bad time, Lasky founder Chris Bakke posted. I'm not sure he's prepared to take on a couple of PhDs, a few MBAs, and a baroness who use Twitter once a year to reset their passwords and collectively own 77 shares of the company. With Jack departing, the Twitter board collectively owns almost no shares, Musk reacted on Saturday. Objectively, their economic interests are simply not aligned with their shareholders. I mean, you take a look at this, and these are the. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see it. There we go. These are the board members. Look at the ownership. Like Jack Dorsey owns 2.253%, and he owns the most, whereas Musk, as of right now, owns minimum 9.2%. So he blows the entire board away. It says the same day the tech billionaire agreed with entrepreneur David Sachs' post claiming a rejection of Musk's offer to outright buy Twitter would expose corruption. If the game is fair, Elon will buy Twitter. If the game is rigged, there will be some reason why he won't be able to. We're about to find out how deep the corruption grows.
And I believe I saw that tweet, and I was showing it to you because I'm like, oh man.
And then Musk replied, "Indeed." Oh, he's well aware of what's going on here. But listen to this. This is where the poison pill thing comes into play. The Twitter board on Friday announced the adoption of a, quote, poison pill intended to stop Musk's efforts to buy the company by diluting his shares. The board has adopted a limited duration shareholder rights plan, which gives Twitter's existing shareholders, except Musk, time to purchase additional shares at a discount. The desired effect is clearly to dilute Musk's holding in the company, and make the cost of a takeover higher or even prohibitive.
Yep.
It says poison pill devised by law firms in the 1980s to protect companies from corporate raiders. Essentially, lets a takeover target flood the market with new shares or allow existing shareholders other than the bidder to buy them at a discount. This means anyone trying to acquire the company must negotiate directly with the board. Good gravy. Now, this, of course, Elon Musk says he's saying free speech is a societal imperative for a functioning democracy. And he added that this was his best and final offer. Mm-hmm. So it's obvious right now. I'm just going to bring up, where's that picture? Bring him back up. Get him on screen. It's obvious right now whether or not Elon is serious about buying Twitter, and you could argue $40 billion is pretty serious. He's not seemingly very surprised about any of this happening. To me, this is a play to really expose what's at stake here. Because any normal board would say, holy crap, you're offering us $54.20 and the stock's only $40 average. Sell. Our people will love you and you can have it. But
and that's with the idea that the board is acting in the most fiscally responsible way towards the shareholders.
Yep.
Which the board is beholden to the shareholders.
You would think.
That's how this whole thing works.
Yep.
But when the board decides we don't need our shareholders to make money. We need them to be virtuous, or we need the company to not be taken over by someone
who doesn't share our explicit beliefs.
That's the bigger thing. It becomes
play.
Not about money so much as, okay, well, what is the company doing that Musk would undo by taking it private?
The company owns the hearts and minds of so many individuals across the planet. It's obviously not a representation of the entire population. I think only around 10%, last I read, is actually on Twitter. But still, the amount of power that Twitter has in swaying things, I mean, they proved it by suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop in the last election. The amount of power they have is worth so much more to them than...
And I think you and I have had this discussion. I think that this will do one of two things. Mm-hmm. Either they will... they would have decided to sell to Musk, or they take on this approach. Yep. Now, with this approach, Musk could dump them.
That's the best part about it.
And they've made such a fuss that their shareholders no longer believe that they have their best interest monetarily
Of course
speaking.
not. It's almost like they've just exposed like an Enron situation, you know? It's a situation where there's corruption. And whether or not he intended to actually buy it, which I actually believe he would do a good job with making Twitter private, he's really exposing what's really going on here.
But what a great way to promote another platform. Promote an alternative.
We will wait. You have your tinfoil conspiracies. I have mine. We will wait and see, because the thing is, you don't want a lot of times you don't want to push people to try to push something new because people are very established in certain things. And Twitter especially already has such a foothold in the financial world where you kind of, in a lot of cases, need to be on Twitter, which is why he's arguing it needs to be free speech and equal for all. But like I said, the fact that even some Saudi prince came out trying to say he had no place in Twitter.
That's the thing, is that the leftist mentality is not being censored on Twitter.
Nope.
The conservative
It's always a conservative.
mentality
Actually, it's
is
just
being censored.
anyone right of crazy.
So you know what? You take all of these conservative voices that now, if Musk is not allowed to buy Twitter, will turn to the alternative, because we have an alternative now. We have Gab.
Well, Gab is yeah. He should just go to Gab.
And I think more and more people, now that they're seeing Twitter do this, will turn to Gab. Yeah. And I think some of the people who even on the left platform will start to see, okay, Twitter has gotten to the point where we've lost all of the conservative money.
Yep.
We've lost the advertising dollars. We've lost the ability of networking. And the whole point to Twitter was, that
free speech platform. Yeah,
exactly.
Musk sees that. I mean,
The town hall.
If he took that privately, he knows he could make a ton of money because he won't be woke with his nonsense.
Yes, whereas Gab is a true town hall, and they're not limiting the left.
Nope.
They're not limiting the right, but they're also not limiting the left.
Nope, you can fling your feces from both sides of the aisle now.
Yes, so we will put our Gab recommendation link on the bottom if you're interested in getting on Gab. We absolutely love it. It's a place where we can post more content and have more discussions about things that seem a little bit...
Yeah, that's why we like Rumble, too. We can post things like, this video bashing Bo Biden and talking about Elon Musk and freedom of speech. We can put it on Rumble and never have to worry about it. Whereas you put that on YouTube, not only does the algorithm suppress you, but if you put the wrong keywords in, boom, demonetized, boom, no one will ever see your thing. Rumble at least gives you a fair chance, which is what YouTube used to be. But the leftists have taken over. You know what I think the biggest problem here is? They just don't want to see a hardworking African-American own a company and break the glass shield. That's what it all comes down to.
They just got us banned on Twitter and on YouTube.
What? How could you say that? Oh, my glory, it's snowing.
How dare you say that?
It is snowing outside, people. Snowing.
Shh. I close the curtains for a reason. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it.
Oh, boy. Well, I you know what? That's a good place to end it on. I'm rooting for Elon Musk here. Doesn't it just feel great that there's at least 2 billionaires out there that aren't corrupt as can be and trying to take over the world or buy up farmland or euthanize a continent or something crazy. There's actually billionaires out there going, let's have fun. Let's restore power and throw it in the other people's faces. I love it. I do. So that is all for our show today, or at least part 2 of the show. Yeah.
If you like our show, if you like some of our shorts, go ahead and make sure that you are liking the individual videos, hitting subscribe. It helps to kind of encourage us to make more content. If you ever have a difference of opinion or would like to share an article with us, be sure to reach out. The links to all of our social media platforms are below the video. We love to hear from you, so make sure that you are commenting and liking and subscribing.
Absolutely, and everybody have a fabulous day. I hope it's not snowing where you are, and we will see everybody tomorrow.